Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Our Community with Whitney Prather. Learn about what's happening in Stark and Tuscarawas counties and the surrounding areas. We're going to highlight interesting people, businesses, organizations, churches, events, and even more. Stay tuned. Prime to lead. I love this phrase. Prime to lead. It's like locked and loaded. Someone should totally use this for a book title. Someone did, and his name is Chris Brzezowski. And today I spoke to him about his new book. Serving in church leadership roles for over a decade, Chris's passion is to encourage Christian leaders and families toward generational impact. He is the author of Prime to Lead, a book that coaches new leaders to start well in leadership, cultivate healthy influence as a servant leader, and create movement toward the future. He currently serves as family ministries pastor at Life Point Church, a multiplying, multi-generational church in North Columbus, Ohio. I can't wait for you to hear this interview. Hey, Chris, I'm so excited to connect with you. How are you?
I am doing great, Whitney. Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris and I actually attended Malone College/University together. So this is a blast from the past.
It is. Go Pioneers.
Yes, for sure. So today I'm talking to you all about Prime to Lead. I'm so excited about this book. It looks so interesting. I want you to tell us about it.
Yeah, Prime to Lead is a coaching guide. It's a simple tool that was written to help just encourage people just to be intentional about how they serve other people and lead other people. And so whether you're newer to leadership and you're just stepping into a leadership role for the first time, maybe you got hired for a role where you're managing people or leading a team, or maybe you're even a volunteer at your church and you really want to have good practical habits that are informed by scripture to be able to serve and lead other people well. That's what this book is for. It's for any person that just wants to have a positive influence for Christ in whatever context that God gives them influence in.
Wonderful. So talk to me about the journey to getting here. Like, how did you get here? What did, God do in your life to make you write this book?
Yeah, well, so it started really with struggle, right? Which so many things do, right? I had been hired for some different leadership roles and really found myself struggling as a leader, and even in ministry. I really had a lot of zeal. I was really passionate and energetic and had all these ideas, but I didn't really know how to lead people well, right? And so what happened is God in his kindness and his love just put some people in my life that began coaching me and helping me. And as I began to learn and grow, I found myself becoming more effective as a leader, being able to lead other people, lead teams. And then over time, he just continued to give me opportunity to build some expertise in those areas and leading different teams. And now I get to help other people, right? So I coach staff, I coach volunteers. I'm always coaching people in leadership, especially within the ministry world. And so because I work with people who are passionate, who want to have impact for Christ, whether they're serving at their church, whether they're in a leadership role in their organization, because I'm coaching other people, I wanted to provide a resource for people to do that, and blessed to be able to be published in doing that, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and your book cover design is so legit. I was like, oh, look at Chris. Like, who is he? Yeah, it looks...
Thanks. We had a great designer, super grateful. It took a team of people who believed in the book and in the material and its heart. And I'm so grateful just for the team of friends and designers and just different folks who helped make this resource happen.
Yeah. I love what you shared about, how this really took place at a point of struggle. It started, that's where it originated from. Can you kind of peel back the book cover and talk to us about some of the principles that are inside of this book? Yeah.
So a lot of times with leadership books, there's this idea that it's just this huge, big thing. And a lot of leadership books, these are 3 huge strategies or 5 huge principles. And if you just do these things, and this is a book about the little things. It's about the little habits and the little things that we do on a daily basis and how we serve people. I like to define leadership like this. Leadership is simply just meeting people where they are and then cultivating the right to show them where they should go and then coming alongside them and helping them to get there. And a lot of times that just takes little things over time. And so within the book, I really try to spell it out and how you do that practically. And so we look at what the scriptures talk about as far as how our character matters, how building trust really matters, how wisdom in our life matters. And then as we grow, we then get to know other people. When we step into organizations, we want to get to know the people in those organizations. We want to know the history and the culture and the language. And really, in a way, it's kind of like missionary strategy, right? Like you go to a context, even at a company or even in a ministry, and you get to know people. And then as you do that, you start to understand where they're at. And then as a leader, you look objectively and go, okay, based on what we're really trying to do as an organization, as a ministry, as a team, even as a small group, where are we trying to go? And then what are the simple steps that's going to help us move in that direction? And that's one of the things I really try to do when I coach leaders, when I talk with other people leading ministry teams is where do you really want to go? How do you define that? And then how do you really take practical steps to get there? And one of the things we've heard from readers that they really enjoy is just how practical the book is. Because when we lead people, we really do want to serve them. We really want to help them move in a particular direction. And the book is meant to help you do that, but do it in a way that's encouraging and not just information overload. I've heard people tell me they've laughed with some of the stories, and they've even cried with some of the stories, just how personal the book is. If you and I, Whitney, were sitting down and we were having a cup of coffee and I was sharing with you all these different things that I've learned, that's kind of the tone of the book, if you will.
Nice. I love that. So what makes the book unique? You kind of already said that, it's real practical. What other attributes do you think just make this book super unique for people?
So one of the things we've heard from readers is that they love the short chapters. So there's the chapters are shorter, so you feel like you can sit down, read through a chapter and learn something, and you didn't feel like you had to be there for an hour reading it and chewing through it. So we've heard that too. And then one of the things that's really unique about this book is at the end of each chapter, there's actually a coaching section, which we found, especially from experienced leaders, they love that. And so for example, we've got a chapter on understanding organizational culture, right? Well, then what you can do is, let's say you have somebody going through the book with you that's maybe your supervisor or your team lead. There's questions there for them to ask you and you to ask them, and you'll be able to process through the principles of the book in your context, because every context, every community, every organization is different. And that's one of the things that we've heard from leaders, especially experienced leaders, because it gives them that on-ramp to have those types of conversations.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful stuff, Chris. What's your hope for this book? Like, who are your audience? Like, what do you want them to do with this?
Yeah, I think, especially for our audience, thinking about young professionals, thinking about people that are maybe newer to leadership. I over the years, being in family ministries, a lot of times, both in kids ministry, student ministry, college and young adult ministry, you have a lot of young, passionate people in those types of roles who they really want to make a difference. I think one of the things that we're seeing from the younger generations right now is just how passionate they are to make a difference. And I love that. And so my hope is those folks that are passionate about making a difference, having positive impact, having an impact for Christ, that this just gives them practical tools to be able to have the impact they want to have as they step into a new job or a new school or a new role or wherever they're serving. It's as a pastor, Ephesians 4 tells me that one of my roles is to help equip people, right? And so my hope is this book helps equip people to have impact for Christ in their organizations and in their communities.
Wonderful. Yeah, I need this book. Prime to Lead, everyone. Yeah. So do you have any, so what's my next step as a young leader? How do I interact with you? I'm going to get the book. Is there any other types of email list, or is there any type of content coming out?
Absolutely. Yeah. So go to primetolead.com. We've already got some resources on there that actually connect with the book. So we've got a way for you to kind of discover some of your spiritual gifts, because that's really important to do too. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so what do you mean by that? Are you walking people through like a quiz, or
so what
are you doing?
It's kind of an inventory, if you will. It's going to ask you some questions that you can go through, and it's going to help you rank some things based on things that you believe about yourself. And then what it does at the end is it encourages you to go and the subtitle of the book is go have a conversation with somebody else that can help you wrestle through those things, because we really need each other to grow. And that was one of the basis for the book is just, the subtitle is an honest conversation for new and experienced leaders. We need people coaching us who have different viewpoints than we do that can help us process through some things and our interactions and what we do. And so the hope is that that'll help inform you about how you're wired, how that connects with what scripture says about the gifts, and then gives you an opportunity then to go have an honest conversation with somebody else that can pour into you, because we all need that. And in the book too. So here's the thing. I think a lot of us want that type of person pouring into us, and we're not sure really how to do that, who to look for, how to approach that person, or what that type of coaching or mentoring relationship looks like. Well, there's a chapter in the book that gives you practical tools for being able to do that.
Yeah, this would be such a great asset for small groups. I know a lot of people are meeting in their small groups over Zoom, but this would certainly be a great resource for that.
Yeah, and we've already had folks doing that, which is really cool. We've had folks get groups of books either for small groups they're going through. We just sent out like a whole box of books last week because we have different teams that are going to be working through the book together over 2021. And we've even heard from some ministry leaders. They think, so if you're on staff at a church especially, we've heard from some ministry leaders that they think that this should be the resource you use to onboard new staff for a ministry.
Wow. I know that makes your heart happy, that the fact that God gave you this word and it's turned into so much and it's helping so many people.
Yeah, just super grateful. And the big point of the book is really just to serve God, serve his people, and to equip them to serve their neighbor and love their neighbor well, whatever context they're in.
Yeah. So walk me through the journey from Malone to today. What experiences have you had professionally, personally, that you feel like have, gotten you here?
Oh boy. All right. We'll see how much time you really have here, Whitney. So when I graduated from Malone, believe it or not, I moved out to Texas for a year. I lived in Abilene, Texas for a year. And that was kind of a year of just figuring some things out as far as next steps. So I was doing a bunch of things. I don't know if you remember, but I was real into music at the time, and I was at Malone and playing guitar and writing songs. So I did a little bit of that. I was on staff at a church and then doing some substitute teaching and just trying to figure out next steps. And then God opened the door a year later for me to do seminary and be part of a really practical program at the chapel in Akron. They have a graduate program there that's connected with Trinity University Seminary, and spent 2 years just getting practical ministry experience and then getting my master's. And that was a great experience. Learned a lot there. And then I stepped into a student pastor role for about 6 years. And that was really, when I stepped into that role, had a lot of zeal, right? But really struggled early on. And God really brought some great people into my life. And so it was really, that was a big tipping point for me, and how God grew me. And they're struggling there, right? But what was happening is God was refining me, right? He was refining my character. He was refining who I was as a leader. And out of that, I just really began to grow. And because of God's goodness, we really saw great things happening there. I mean, we were reaching kids in the community, and we were developing leaders. I mean, it's so cool. We're seeing things on social media now, just from that season of ministry, where we see both our adult leaders and our students. They're doing awesome things now. Whether it be at school or in the workplace, or just incredible things that God is doing with those folks. And then 3 years ago, got in conversations with this church called Life Point Church in Lewis Center, Ohio. We're a multi-site church just north of Columbus. And God worked it out to where I had the opportunity to come here and just continue to help serve. Now I'm in a role family ministries pastor. So I oversee some of our staff and lead them and just work with them just to help them lead teams. So we're helping people have impact for the kingdom. So much of my life now is just working with leaders and serving them and helping them, and them helping me, honestly. I mean, that's one of the things about leadership is often the people that you're supposed to be serving, they're helping you and they're helping you grow. And when you work together, and I'm all about teams, like teams. That's what I'm all about. And there's nothing like the impact that a team can have. And so yeah, that's what we're doing now. And God just continues to move and do his thing, even in a crazy time. It's been an interesting year, right? With everything, COVID but we just continue to see God to move and do awesome things. And we're so grateful for that.
Man, I'm so grateful that God just had his hand on you and that you didn't get discouraged enough to get out of the vision he had for your life. It's so encouraging to hear just the iterations of life that you've been through and how your season of struggle and just realness, right, has impacted your life and your trajectory and the book and all that. It's so cool to see. Very cool.
Thanks. Yeah, God, it's God's faithfulness, right? Like he uses us and he grows us and he transforms us, and he's just so faithful, even in the moments when we miss it, right? And even in those moments where we do miss it, he loves us and he wants us to run to him, and when we do that, he continues just to move us forward, and does more things in us and through us than we could imagine. So I've been so grateful for God's faithfulness.
Wonderful. Okay. So I always like to transition from like what we're talking about to like personal life. So
Yeah.
I want to know about your family and, just how are you guys doing during this pandemic and all that good stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I think for everybody, there's definitely been challenge, right? So we have, so my wife, Katie, and I, who also attended Malone, we've been married almost 10 years now, and we've got 2 kids, Ella, who is 7, and Jacob, who is 5. And we've had to navigate so many different things. When quarantine first hit, when everything was happening with the pandemic, that was hard. We had to walk with our daughter through just her grieving, not seeing her friends. She's incredibly social, and friendships and relationships really matter to her. And so she grieved when she couldn't see her friends that she would see every day for weeks. So we had to walk through disappointment and how we trust the Lord and how it reminds us just how valuable friendships and relationships really are.
That's real. I don't think that we really realize how younger people, how little babies are processing this. That's a good word.
Yeah. And so that's been, something that we've had to grow in as parents, right? And we're always growing as parents, right? And how we lead our kids, how we come alongside them and shepherd them, really, even in the midst of disappointments. I think it's okay that I share this story. We hadn't seen some family for quite a while, and we were so excited to go for Thanksgiving and to see some of my family. And then, wouldn't you know it, 2 days before we were supposed to go up there, up to the Cleveland area where I grew up, some of our family members tested positive for COVID, and they're doing okay now. Praise the Lord. But our kids cried at the dinner table when we told them, and it was such a bummer. But at the same time, I think we recognize God's character, that he's still good, and that even in the midst of our disappointments, he's with us and he comforts us and he comforts our kids. And even in those moments where we're frustrated and we're disappointed, he's cultivating trust in our hearts, that even when we're disappointed, we know that God's still good and we trust in him, not our circumstances. And so as a family, sometimes we've processed that well, and sometimes we haven't, right? Like I'm just going to tell you, there's no pie in the sky family life, vision here. It's a process, and God's working in us as parents and in our family. And we're grateful just for his faithfulness as he's teaching us, in a really, really unique year.
Yeah. Well, I will be thinking about your kiddos. It's so sweet. So, okay. So I always like to ask people what they're excited about. I feel like there's always a silver lining in what we experience. So what are some of the things that you've been enjoying, or what are you excited about?
As far as family life, professional life?
Anything.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say personally, and then I'm going to say professionally. So personally, I'm excited for just how God continues to give me some opportunities to encourage people. As difficult as this year has been, in my mind, 2020 was only going to be a hashtag fail if I didn't grow this year, right? Like I wanted, in the midst of the difficulty, and I feel like God has just been so good to work in my life and help me grow in different areas. And as he's growing me, and as I've kind of leaned into that, even in the more difficult growth points that happen, God's begun to open up more opportunities for me to serve and encourage other people. And so I'm really excited for those different opportunities to come on great shows like this with you, Whitney, and other opportunities and some different things coming up. And it looks like we're gonna be recording an audiobook version of Prime to Lead because we've had requests for that. And so I think we're gonna begin getting in the studio and recording after the start of 2021. So I guess that's both personal and professional. Just personal, excited for opportunities to serve and encourage people, and then professional, just more steps with this great resource and encouraging folks. We're going to be working with some different organizations for some different things, hopefully here coming up, and encouraging leaders both not only in ministry but even in the marketplace as well. And we're excited about that.
Yeah, I love it. I love the fact, I love the intersection between leadership and faith. That's my kind of favorite place to straddle. So I'm very excited about this resource as well. And you do have a lot to be thankful for and excited for. I really appreciate you sharing all of this with us today. Where can we find you and where can we find the book?
Yeah, so go to primetolead.com. You can go on there. There's a link to get a copy of the book. There's other resources on there as well. I try to write pretty consistently. And so sometimes I just write about life and faith. And I even have, so what I was talking about earlier, I even have a article that I wrote about how do we handle disappointments that come alongside people in the midst of disappointment. Some other things too for organizations. We just had a great article come out for an organization called X-Pastor that really connects ministry with kind of the business side of ministry and leadership development. And so they had us write an article on the art of celebrating well and the importance of celebrating teams, even when things are unique as they are in 2020. So there's a lot of resources on there. And there's also, you can sign up for our mailing list as well for other resources.
Wonderful. Chris, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you so much, Whitney. Thanks so much for having me. So grateful for you.
Thank you to our guest today, and thank you for tuning in. Cheers. Until next time.